Hey folks, welcome back to Full Bore Silver 1/7 Wednesday 2026. Well, we got smashed last night by the bankers. 50 million paper ounces dropped on the markets right around 7 p.m. in two different tranches. And we came down from that high. We were assaulting the all-time high nominally. 82.75 was the high last night, right around 5 p.m. our time here. And we have just retraced basically this entire time. We formed several tweezer bottoms. I thought we were going to break out of those, but they continued to smash it down all the way to 76.33. Now we are forming a bit of a flagpole into another bull flag consolidation pattern. So let's see if we can break above 78.92. But of course, these are COMEX prices. These are monopoly prices. These aren't the prices of the real market. Price discovery is going on around the world. Different prices in Dubai, different prices in Hong Kong, Shanghai, Tokyo, Australia, etc. Getting reports from bullion being sold out everywhere. And I have an order in with Bullion Express. I took advantage of their first-time buyer spot price buy on 10 ounces. This was 10 days ago, I want to say, and the order is on hold. There is no shipment. They've taken my money, so I better get my silver, but I'm hearing reports that bullion dealers everywhere are selling out. There is a huge scarcity on physical silver. People are accumulating like crazy. They're shrugging off the monopoly prices set by COMEX. Now we're having the development of regional markets. It's sort of like perishable goods. So why would blueberries grown in British Columbia cost the same amount as blueberries shipped from British Columbia across the United States landing in Portland, Maine? You've got all that extra transit costs, you've got handling costs, you got to deal with the teamsters unloading the truck, etc. They're obviously going to be higher there. So it would stand to reason that physical silver is going to be regionally priced, depending on where it's mined, what local industry might need it more. And so I think you'll see the development of that. And of course, physical market, completely different than these fake COMEX prices, despite what they try to do. Now, I wanted to address a comment talking about how silver was the investment, and that is the thesis, of course, physical silver. But we also track all the precious metals, and what you're seeing right now is kind of unprecedented because we have gold going up, we have platinum going up, we have base metals going up, we have commodities going up, we have silver going up. It's a commodity bull market. This was a really interesting X post by No Limit Gains. This is not good. I really hate what I'm seeing. Gold up, silver up, copper up. I've been in this game for 20 years and there's one setup that makes me worried. You're looking at it. This isn't just a rally. This is our warning. Here's what's happening and why I'm worried. In a normal market, the screen is impossible. This screen is impossible. Copper rallies when the economy is booming and gold rallies when the economy is breaking. When they hold hands and rip higher together, the market is screaming that the system itself is broken. We aren't seeing an inflation trade, we're seeing capital flight. Smart money isn't rotating sectors anymore. I think that's right. There is a global monetary reset going on. There is a commodity bull market on. There is indeed a resource war going on. And you're seeing factors that are aligning that have never really aligned before. Makes a really good point. And I think it lends credence to maybe diversifying your metal stack. Of course, I mean, I'm 90% silver, but I am going to definitely pay attention to copper and platinum and gold, as you saw from the unboxing. So we're going to be tracking that. Now, this was interesting as well. Gold historical notional deliveries for the month of December. See that monster green candle? That's December of 2025. Unprecedented stands for delivery on physical gold. Poland accumulated, what was it, 85 or 95 tons last year. Brazil was 47. Central banks are hoarding and consolidating gold reserves, getting as much real asset as they can. There is a monetary reset. It's almost like they know something's going on. We're paying attention to gold. Here's an interesting one. Bank America's Widmer. Gold will be the primary hedge and performance driver in 2026. Silver could top out between 135 and 309. That is Bank America. That is one of traditionally the largest shorts on silver on earth. This is amazing that this is coming out mainstream news. And Aaron Texas Silver just sent me something. Jim Cramer talking about gold and claiming he's a long-term gold bug. I mean, Cramer endorsing something scares the living bejesus out of me. I'm going to just start selling all my gold, half price. I got to get out of it. Just kidding. I'm going to hold it. I mean, not even Cramer can stop this rally in metals and commodities. So everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Incredible. Rob Kientz was on Triangle Investor. Made some really amazing points. I suggest you check out the interview. He said, picture the amount of lobbying going on right now in Congress. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Palantir, etc. What happens when they start running into monster silver shortages for chip data AI build-out? The amount of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions that is going to go into lobbying Congress to start creating flows of silver to these Mag 7 and to tech is going to be incredible. That is going to create a lot of market pressure for silver. Also says that the government will go direct to miners. Now, we've seen it with the Chinese government. American politicians have to wake up at some point and realize that this country's industry runs on silver. So I think you see government stakes. We've seen it in some rare earth like MP Materials, Lithium America, I believe, but you're going to start seeing it in the precious metals miners. I would look at maybe an FCX, like a Freeport McMoran. They tend to go more with the traditional companies. FCX has exposure to copper, gold, base metals, silver, of course. But, you know, silver is a byproduct of copper mining and iron ore, etc. And so he posits that what the government is going to do is say, hey, look, we'll subsidize your copper mining if you give us all the silver. We'll give you tax breaks, we'll give you grants for equipment, etc., exploration. Give us the silver. More market pressure. He also speculates that this COMEX game might come to an end because it is in critical status, silver. The government might just come in at some point and say, no more delivering U.S. physical silver to Shanghai or wherever else, whoever stands for delivery. It has to stay here. That completely shuts down the futures market and this huge scam that's been going on in the price manipulation. So that'd be exciting, right? He also says that silver is more important to tech and industry than oil is at this point. Interesting. Says trillion-dollar investments are coming in to primarily silver miners. So Aya, they've got that Zagrounder mine in Morocco, which is one of the only primary silver plays. They're not mining for copper, iron ore. It's this weird aberration in the Earth's crust where they are getting pretty much 100% silver. Interesting play. And he gives a $150 price target for silver. 2026. So let's look forward to that. I think what we're seeing also, and of course these banker shorts probably coincidentally timed this, but we are seeing the ETF revaluations and what MSCI, which is Morgan Stanley, and iShares and some of the other large ETF AUM management circles do is they rebalance their ETFs. And so if they have exposure to mining, gold, etc., they're going to say, oh my God, our returns were incredible in 2025. We got to take these gains and then rotate into a different sector. So I think This takes place, I believe, between January 8th and 14th, and they might be front running that a little bit. So I expect a lot of volatility up until the 14th. But again, it's almost, if you hold physical silver, it's not even worth watching these paper markets unless, you're me, you have to talk about it, or you're trading options, equities, futures, and miners. Then you pay attention to it. Now, yesterday, I did talk about some of the equity plays, miners, and leaps, which are deep in the money calls and an 80 delta, which I buy months out in advance. I closed out of those on that spike yesterday. I closed out of a lot of Hecla and just see green, take green. Nobody ever went broke taking profit. So that worked out. That being said, I woke up this morning and, I was still down about 11,000 on some of these equity plays and the miner plays. But I had dry powder in reserve, and so I piled back in at those deep, dark, awful lows that haven't been seen since, I don't know, Monday. So I piled in basically when I saw that tweezer bottom at around $76, and I've recouped most of my losses that I incurred this morning. And I also did take advantage of that first majestic leap that goes out into, I believe it's July 17th, 80 delta. It was around $600. Even though the IV is still spiked, you might be able to do better this afternoon. But I have conviction in that company. Don't follow my trades. Don't follow me, Chief. What movie is it from? Hell or High Water. Okay, I'll give it away. Don't follow me, Chief. But do your due diligence, not financial advice, but, on these retracements, we dollar cost average into our high conviction names is basically how we're playing it. So that's your update for today. Don't get too despondent when these markets come down. I was on the boat with my buddy the other day, wake surfing, and beautiful boat. He's got a beautiful truck. He's a project manager with a construction company. Beautiful fiance, beautiful house. But he was in hell once. He was a fairly good-sized drug trafficker in Austin in the 80s, and he wound up in and out of prison for, I think it was 12 years. And he wound up in Beto 2, which is out in Palestine, Texas. It's one of the roughest prisons in Texas. It's called the Gladiator Unit. And so can you imagine being locked in a cage and literally having to fight for your life on a daily or weekly basis? And, the Aryan gangs tried to recruit him, and he stayed unaffiliated. Join up with a gang, you get a little short-term protection, but then, there's other liabilities that come with that. But, he gave up to a higher power, and he bettered himself as a man, worked really hard, got sober, etc. And now he's living the high life. He's just a really amazing, generous guy. And, it seems all my friends are either cops or criminals. They're kind of one and the same personality type, high dopamine individuals. They like the action. But, as my buddy Jimmy used to say from Boston, if it wasn't for cops and firefighters, there'd be a lot more criminals on the streets. So, it kind of bears out. Speaking of criminality, the area and the neighborhood was robbed last night by an Austin area car theft gang. So they went around door checking, and they stole one of my neighbor's Suburbans out of the driveway. Totally brazen. They had a key fob device so they could get into Ford and Dodge trucks. They stole my other buddy's wallet out of his truck. And so I think it's reflective of the economy. The underlying economy is not doing great. People get desperate. Of course, we let in 20 million people under Brandon, and a lot of these people came from really violent, war-torn countries. So protect yourself, develop your skills, hit the range, and be vigilant, because when the economy, during this monetary reset, inflation through the roof, etc., buying power, it really squeezes a lot of people, and people do desperate things in desperate times. So Stay vigilant, and please keep tuning in to Full Bore Silver. Like, subscribe, share. We'll talk to you soon.